Folks. Welcome everybody to 52 Living Ideas. Today is Poetry Mondays. I'm excited to have you all here. I do see a couple new faces, so I'm going to go through the few little admin things that we do say. I don't always say them if I recognize everyone. So we ask if you are not speaking, please keep yourself muted just to cut back on background noise. And we do, usually we ask folks to type exclamation to chat, but sometimes we go rogue. So it's pretty informal here. We have 3 parts to our Poetry Monday session. The way that it goes is for the first third, we have a featured poem or a featured poet, but there's no requirement for you to only read that poet. So I'll start us off with the featured poet. I'll read 1 or 2 poems, and I'll open the floor to the rest of you. I invite you to read a poem by the featured poet. If you have one that you like, if you have one that you just saw, that would be great. If not a problem. Feel free to read a poem by any other poet or artist, including one of your own. We do love and welcome any personal poems. So, this is pretty safe space, welcoming crowd. Hopefully you'll feel comfortable to do so. We'll slide into the second third of our evening. And in this section, what happens is we'll split you off into smaller breakout rooms. This portion is not recorded. And what happens in these breakout rooms is you will collaborate together to create one poem. I will give you guys a focus and theme, kind of to prompt. It's like a prompt, but it's a focus and theme. And then you guys will together write the poem. You spend the first 20 minutes calling out lines together, and then the last 10 minutes in finessing and rearranging the lines. I know it sounds crazy, but we've been doing this for many weeks. I think we're in week 35 or 36. I've lost count, but it works. It really does work. So hopefully, and you're not required to join in, but we do invite you to. It's really a lot of fun. And if you're shy, like I said, that portion is not it is not recorded. At the end of that second session, you'll come back to the main room together. We will read out each of the poems. We've been trying some new things, and last week we did something really cool where not last week, the week before, where we took the 2 poems and we merged them into one big poem. And that was pretty awesome. That's something I'm going to see if we can try to do again today. The focus and theme, just so you guys have it in the back of your mind, today is going to be humility or humbleness. So that's the theme we're going to get into when we start writing our poetry together. And hopefully that makes sense. And I am going to, again, I hear somebody in the background. So if you're not muted, please do mute yourselves. And then I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Our featured poet today is Sarojini Naidu. I apologize if I got that name wrong, but I'm hoping that I did not. So the first poem of hers that I'm going to read for you today is her poem to the god of pain. As somebody who has an autoimmune disease and took a really long time for them to figure out why it is that I had certain amounts of or levels of pain, this poem really, truly kind of like spoke to me when I read it. So it's the first one I wanted to share with you. Sarojini Naidu. Unwilling priestess in thy cruel fane, long hast thou held me, pitiless god of pain. Bound to thy worship by reluctant vows, my tired breast girt with suffering, and my brows anointed with perpetual weariness. Long have I borne thy service through the stress of rigorous years, sad days, and slumberous nights, performing thine inexorable rites. For thy dark altars, balm nor milk nor rice, but mine own soul thou'st ta'en for sacrifice. All the rich honey of my youth's desire, and all the sweet oils from my crushed life drawn, and all my flower-like dreams and gem-like fire of hopes upleaping like the light of dawn. I have no more to give. All that was mine is laid, a rested tribute at thy shrine. Let me depart, for my whole soul is wrung, and all my cheerless orisons are sung. Let me depart, with faint limbs let me creep to some dim shade and sink me down to sleep. So that was her poem to the god of pain. And so the next poem I'm going to read for you of hers. Go ahead, please, if you would like to share a poem with us, start queuing yourselves up in the chat. Just type an exclamation and I'll call on you in the order that I see your name there. This poem of hers is called Song of a Dream. Once in the dream of a night I stood, lone in the lights of a magic wood, so deep in visions that poppy-like sprang, and spirits of truth were the birds that sang, and spirits of love were the stars that glowed, and spirits of peace were the streams that flowed in that magical wood in the land of sleep. Lone in the light of that magical grove, I felt the stars of the spirits of love gather and gleam around my delicate youth, and I heard the song of the spirits of truth. To quench my longing, I bent me low by the streams of the spirits of peace that flow in that magical wood in the land of sleep. So I thought we'd go with one a little lighter from the first one. So she is a very prolific poet, so many more. Actually, she's really quite a fascinating character, kind of a, how do you say, kind of a pacemaker in her land and her times. So if you guys didn't get a chance to check her out before, I really encourage you to do so. If you like poetry, she really is. She brings this metaphor and imagery that is really quite above many that I've seen. She is called the songbird of India. Many of her poems have been put to song, which I think is kind of cool. And I can hear it as you're reading because they're very lyrical. All right, let's go with Joe. Go ahead. Welcome.
Sure. I am going to read one of her poems as well. It's titled Ecstasy. Cover mine eyes, O my love, mine eyes that are weary of bliss. As of light that is poignant and strong, O silence my lips with a kiss. My lips that are weary of song, shelter my soul, O my love. My soul is bent low with the pain and the burden of love, like the grace of a flower that is smitten with rain. O shelter my soul from thy face. Like to, when I read it, just maybe I attended a wedding a little bit ago, so kind of was just looking through her poems, and that kind of spoke to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Hey, Joe, if it's okay with you, I'm going to make you co-host in case I need some assistance. Thank you. Next up, I have Emily. Welcome, Emily.
I'm going to read her poem, The Poet to Death. Tarry a while, O death, I cannot die, while yet my sweet life burgeons with its spring. Fair is my youth, and rich the echoing boughs, where Daikulas sing. Tarry a while, O death, I cannot die, with all my blossoming hopes unharvested, my joys ungarnered, all my songs unsung, and all my tears unshed. Tarry a while, till I am satisfied of love and grief, of earth an altering sky, till all my human hungers are fulfilled. O death, I cannot die.
Any particular reason why this one called to you?
Oh, it's just so poignant. It's
Nice.
no, wait, one more.
Please do. Yes, absolutely.
No, I meant she's.
Oh, for her. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were like, I need
Not
one
yet,
more.
not yet. I'm not ready to go. You know.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah.
Yes, I do like that. It's pretty, it's great. It's really funny hearing that one right after the one to the God of Pain, right? She's like, if you'll note, I said, let me sleep a minute. I said nothing about being done. Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Next up is Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Larissa. I have to say before I start that I've never heard of this poet before. It's completely new to me. I also got a shock when I looked on the page for today, realizing it was her. I thought it was someone else we were going to do, but I'm pleased it was her. As I said, I'd never heard of her, so I grabbed a couple of her books and looked through them, and I'm so impressed, so amazed. It's beautiful work. There's a book she's produced which is called The Bird of Time, and I'm going to read a poem out of that. It's called In a Time of Flowers. Oh love, do you know the spring is here with the lure of her magic flute? The old earth breaks into passionate bloom and the kiss of her fleet gay foot. The burgeoning leaves on the almond boughs and the leaves on the blue wave's breast are crowned with the limpid and delicate light of the gems in your turban crest. The bright pomegranate buds unfold, the frail wild lilies appear, like the blood-red jewels you used to fling o'er the maidens that danced at the feast of spring to welcome the newborn year. Oh love, do you know the spring is here? The dawn and the dusk grow rife with scent and song and tremulous mirth, the blind rich travail of life. The winds are drunk with the odorous breath of henna, sarisha, and neem. Do they ruffle your cold, strange, tranquil sleep, or trouble your changeless dream? With poignant thoughts of the world you loved and the beauty you held so dear, do you long for a brief, glad hour to wake from your lonely slumber for sweet love's sake to welcome the newborn year?
Lovely. Thank you, Brian. I do always get excited when I hear people say that they're, a poet that I've made the featured poet is new to them, because it's great. We're expanding our horizons here. It's awesome. And I chose a female because I think for the last month, actually, we've been doing male poets. And I was like, wait, we require some balance. I have something I'm working on in the background that hopefully I'll get to in the next week or two. Go ahead, JP. Hi.
Yes, this poet was new to me, and a couple poems I looked at earlier have already been read. I'm not going to do what we did last week or the week before, whenever it was, and everybody reads twice. So I chose something different, and I don't know if I'm saying this first word correctly. Palanquin bearers. Anyway, I like this to tell you before I read it because it sounds like a waltz.
Ooh, lovely. What is the name of this one?
Palanquin bearers,
Oh,
whatever
that's the name.
palanquin is. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one. Awesome.
I was just been going through all of them to find something. Lightly, oh lightly, we bear her along. She sways like a flower in the wind of our song. She skims like a bird on the foam of a stream. She floats like a laugh from the lips of a dream. Gaily, oh gaily, we glide and we sing. We bear her along like a pearl on a string. Softly, oh softly, we bear her along. She hangs like a star in the dew of our song. She springs like a beam on the brow of the tide. She falls like a tear from the eyes of a bride. Lightly, oh lightly, we glide and we sing. We bear her along like a pearl on a string. So I'm impressed with her.
I can see the waltz in that. That's awesome. Once you said it, I could totally see it. That's so great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Marco, hi. You're up next.
Yeah, this is by the featured poet. I'm not sure if it was, hopefully it wasn't already read. It's called Life. It's so it's a children ye have not lived, to you it seems life is a lovely stalactite of dreams, or carnival of careless joys that leap about your hearts like billows on the deep, in flames of amber and of amethyst. Children, ye have not lived, ye but exist, till some resistless hour shall rise and move your hearts to wake and hunger after love, and thirst with passionate longing for the things that burn your brows with blood-red sufferings. Till ye have battled with great grief and fears, and borne the conflict of shattering years, wounded with fierce desire and worn with strife. Children, ye have not lived, for this is life. Yeah, I just liked it. Just you know, it, that, you can't, that life is just stuff, happiness and suffering is just like part of life. And yeah, that's why I chose it.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm really glad you picked that one. That one's one of the ones I have open to read if no one else read it. So awesome. That's great. Thank you. And next up, I have Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hi. You've made a whole bunch of converts here. I mean, I didn't know this poet. So I'm a total lifelong fan instantly, falling in love instantly. Like we talk about falling in love with each other. Well,
I'm paying you back. Totally paying you back.
Okay.
You remember what you did to me.
I don't. I do remember things I did to you, but I don't remember what you're talking
The
about.
poet. I still can't say her name right.
Oh, Shaylan Harkin.
Shaylan Harkin. But
Yeah.
I was obsessed with her. He introduced me to her, and I went to she did like an open mic type thing, and I was like, really? I'm upset now.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, so this poet is so passionate. We're being very passionate tonight. So my poem it fits just by coincidence. So I'm going to read it. Okay. I never played scales, only arpeggios when I riffed on you. Like a long rolling orchestra undulating in the waves, rain with the timpanist sweeping up and down the chimes, glistening with our sweat. When I riffed on you, it was Grappelli on body and soul, Bach's harpsichord riffing above the Brandenburg, each rehearsal perfect in itself. Gershwin's murmur of clarinet, swallows swooping. Parker's riffing on the Firebird, making her fly this way for the first time, with Tchaikovsky in the audience. When I riffed on you. Tonight's cool fall rain has its own riff. I hear Ella's Autumn in the cello wind, season changed forever. And I know if I could cull this poem down to its essence, it would fit perfectly on your stone. And you would appreciate it there, titled, When I Riffed on You. Thank you.
Thank you. That does have it has that kind of melodic quality that we're hearing from Naidu's poetry. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. Much appreciated. Next up, I have JP. Go ahead, JP.
Okay, I'll read one I wrote. I like to do that every week. Paul and Anton always inspire me. I'm always willing to hear theirs. Thank you, guys. This is called If It Is As. I play with words a lot, you'll know. If it is as. We pray like butterflies, wings freedom, bless a saint. Our minds fly on white skies as if they paint. We paint a rainbow's bridge, shimmering hues enhance. Our fingers build courage as if they dance. We dance, enwrapped in cloud, kettle drum rumbling bliss. Our tapping feet sing loud as if they kiss. We kiss, day's longest night, wishing an endless day. Our hearts fold into light as if they pray. Thank you.
Lovely. I love that they all fit in the scheme. That's super cool. Next up, I have Joel. Hi, welcome, Joel.
Hi. So I'm going to come back to our featured poet, and this is a Rajput love song. So, Pravati at her lattice. O love, were you a basil wreath to twine among my tresses, a jeweled clasp of shining gold to bind around my sleeve? O love, were you the Kiora's soul that haunts my silken raiment, a bright vermilion tassel in the girdles that I weave? O love, were you the scented fan that lies upon my pillow, a sand lute or silver lamp that burns before my shrine? Why should I fear the jealous dawn that spreads with cruel laughter, sad veils of separation between your face and mine? Haste, O wild bee hours, to the gardens of the sunset. Fly, wild parrot day, to the orchards of the west. Come, O tender night, with your sweet consoling darkness, and bring me my beloved to the shelter of my breast. And then Amar Singh in the saddle. O love, were you the hooded hawk upon my hand that flutters, its collar band of gleaming bells a tinkle as I ride? O love, were you a turban spray or floating heron feather, the radiant, swift, unconquered sword that swingeth at my side? O love, were you a shield against the arrows of my foemen, an amulet of jade against the perils of the way? How should the drumbeats of the dawn divide me from your bosom, or the union of the midnight be ended with the day? Haste, O wild dear hours, to the meadows of the sunset. Fly, wild stallion day, to the pastures of the west. Come, O tranquil night, with your soft consenting darkness, and bear me to the fragrance of my beloved's breast. So,
Lovely. Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. She's pretty cool.
Thanks.
Your first time with her as well. So
Awesome. Next up, I have, let's see, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
With your permission, I would like to read another one of hers.
Of course, by all means.
This is called The Bird of Time. O bird of time, on your fruitful bough, what are the songs you sing? Songs of the glory and gladness of life, or poignant sorrow and passionate strife, and the lilting joy of the spring. Of hope that sows for the years unborn, and faith that dreams of a tarrying morn, the fragrant peace of the twilight's breath, and the mystic silence that men call death. O bird of time, say, where did you learn the changing measures you sing? In blowing forests and breaking tides, in the happy laughter of new-made brides, and the nests of a newborn spring, in the dawn that thrills to a mother's prayer, and the night that shelters a heart's despair, in the sigh of pity, the sob of hate, and the pride of a soul that has conquered fate. These are really fantastic poems.
Thank you. Thank you. I have Steve up next. Hi, Steve.
Good evening, Marissa. Yes, thank you for turning us all on to this poet. She was unknown to me as well, so I look forward tomorrow morning to start searching her out. This is from Pablo Neruda. Monday is tangled up with Tuesday, and the week with the year. Time can't be cut with your tired scissors, and all the names of the day are rubbed out by the waters of the night. No one can be named Pedro. No one is Rosa or Maria. All of us are dust or sand. All of us are rain and rain. They have talked to me of Venezuela, of Paraguay, of Chile. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm aware of the earth's skin, and I know it doesn't have a name. When I live with the roots, I like them more than the flowers. And when I talked with a stone, it rang like a bell. The spring is so long that it lasts all winter. Time lost its shoes. A year contains 4 centuries. When I sleep all these nights, what am I named or not named? And when I wake up, who am I if I wasn't when I slept? This means that we have barely disembarked into life, that we're only now just being born. Let's not fill our mouths with so much pompous letters, with so much yours and mine, with so much signing of papers. I intend to confuse things, to unite them and make them newborn, intermingling with them, undress them, until the light of the world has the unity of the ocean, a generous wholeness, a fragrance alive, and a crackling. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. He would make a fantastic featured poet. I don't know if folks are familiar with him, but there's a lot of depth in so much of his poetry as well.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go for it.
What year did he write that, Steve?
You
If
know,
you know.
I'm not sure.
Or it would be before 1960, though, right?
Well, he won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1971.
Okay, it could have been. The reason I ask is Monday's on the phone to Tuesday. I think I know where the Beatles got that line. I'm just curious.
Oh, that's funny. It's actually in a song. Huh.
Which Beatles song is that?
Monday's on the phone to Tuesday. What is it? She came in through the bathroom window, maybe from
Boy,
the.
you gotta carry that weight. Boy.
Yeah, it's in that same little suite of tunes. Yep, in that album. Yeah.
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road.
Yeah, Abbey Road.
I'm gonna have to look that up now. I will admit I'm not very familiar with Beato's work, but now I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anybody say that you're not familiar with Beatles' work. That will never be said again, please. Thank you.
What can I say? I spent too much time looking at poetry. Okay, wait. Back to the matter at hand. Joel, you're up next.
Okay, this is one of mine, and I'm a hypnotist by trade, so this might be a little trancy. I'll get to the meat of it, hopefully not too. So relax and take your ease. Allow ego to rest in soft repose, to sleep, to stray, or stroll in reverie, or just let go. Relax behind closed eyes and let swirling colors play soft interludes where images arise. Your ears too can wander, hearing much or not at all. And as you breathe, let mind and body be a welcome host again. Invite in relaxation, invite in quiet comfort and contemplation. Let all and more merge and mingle as mind and body lovingly embrace these guests. And let these guests, these kindest folks, give their gifts of trance and change. Allow thoughts to drift like smoke and drink in deep of restfulness, while effervescent bubbles of possibilities tickle your mind, Dream a wondrous celebration of you transformed. Let soft breath and trance open doors of hope and possibility. Let grand visions from beyond glide in on gossamer wings. Let unconscious gentle witchery and glamour enthrall. Turn intertwining a kaleidoscope of hope, beliefs, and opportunity. Spin bright crystals of ideas, shifting visions, blend and bend facets of action and circumstance until your glistening, vivid future does emerge, and hold it bright and clear, loud and strong. And I'll leave it there because I don't want to take up too much of time. So
I have to say I love the again this like kind of sing-songy quality that everyone has presented, even when presenting their own personal poem. It's like it's a whole theme. You guys are awesome. Okay, so let me see, I'll give you guys 30 seconds. If anyone must read one more poem before we move on to the next section, I give you a couple seconds here to throw in an exclamation mark. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the next portion. I am looking for a volunteer, one of my regulars. Would you have an interest today in playing moderator? Yes, I'm looking at some of you. I know Joe's always willing, but yes, okay. Then I'm going to thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I always feel bad. I'm never sure if Joe really wants to, if Joe is being the super nice guy and helping us out. Thank you, Joe. And so we're going to have two moderators. I'm going to split you guys out into two breakout rooms. The focus and theme. Yeah, we're going to go from all this love and swaying and dancing. We're going to think about humbleness and humility. It's a good stage we've set here for you today. So humility or humbleness. What we're going to do is the moderator will throw up a blank page. You guys will spend the first 20 minutes calling out poetic lines, and then the last 10 minutes rearranging them. What I'm going to ask is that you come up with 4 stanzas, 4 lines each, so that it'll be a total of 16 lines. And then what we'll do when we come back together, you'll read them separately and we'll see if we can pull off making it one big poem, cohesive poem again. In the past, we've done some call and response, which were really epic. But I feel like humility talking to you might be a little disturbing. So we're just going to try to merge it into one large poem today. Does anybody have any questions on what we're doing here? Don't be shy. We're very nice. Yes, Paul.
In this 4-line thing, I'm not remembering if we were trying to have people contribute a chunk of 4 lines, or if it's still just line by line when you get into the group, or up to the discretion of the host.
Up to discretion. It's whatever floats your boat. Some people like to put 2 lines together or 1 line together. Some people would rather just throw up one. What I often do is I offer folks the opportunity to put their line in the chat if they don't want to speak it out, because some people are more comfortable kind of sketching it out by themselves, and then they can just write it, and then the moderator can, and it's easier for the moderator too, because they just copy and paste it into the main page there. So some people like that. All of you are poets. I'm going to tell you that now. I haven't seen all of you create yet, but I know you all are. Trust me. We've been doing this here for more than half a year, and you'd be amazed the things. It's going to be a poem, I promise. Don't get disparaged if you throw a line out and you're like, what was I thinking? No worries. You'll figure it out. It'll be great. And if you're new, you're so in for a treat. Welcome. I am going to go ahead and set up our breakout rooms here. And it's automatically done, just so you know, so I don't go around, I don't pick who's going where, except for Joe. I'll make sure Joe's in the opposite room. Let's see, did I do that right? Yes. So Joe, you're going to be in room 1, and I'm going to hop into the other one because it doesn't actually put me anywhere. I'll go into room 2. All right, folks, have a lovely time. We'll see you back here in the main room in 30 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Ooh, and a few more. Hi, Shikant. Welcome. I saw you sneak in quietly, but you didn't join any of us, so we figured you were catching your breath. Folks, this was amazing. I think it went great. We cheated a little bit, and even though I told you 4 quatrains, 16 lines, my group did 5 with 20 because rules were made to be broken. Joe, how was this for you?
Other than it seemed like it went really fast.
It did, right? I know.
It was like, because when we were in there, it felt like, I don't know, it didn't feel like 20 minutes plus 10 minutes of breakout.
No, it sure didn't. But I had a timer on, and we violated said timer. Pardon me, but it was still, I think it was someone at the door? No, it's late. Oh, sorry. So Joe, would you like to read your poem?
Actually, I nominated Paul or Steve.
Even better. Awesome.
Whichever. Steve, you want to read? I don't care which one of us reads.
Very great. And if you would, I'll ask if you guys can throw it into the chat or even share it, even better.
I can't bear being told I'm wrong. I am humble. I am naked. I surrender in the skin. I release all pretensions. My soul expands. Humble as the bear seeking sweetness. Honeyed humble fingers stitching threads, stretching nets. Humility weaves without rhyme or reason. If you think you're humble, you're not. In my bare bashfulness, I surrender my humility, catch it in a pride trap. Humility tempers the ego, the opposite of pride. My pride bends against the winds of fate, bends like dandelion, scatters to the earth. Caesar lowers himself to raise himself. Feasting tears drop punctured my skin. Pain stings my pride. Brutus, you have pierced my ego.
Awesome. See,
Well read. Thank you.
yes, yes. It reads like you had all the time in the world. Fantastic. All right, I am going to steal the screen from you, Joe. And I'll read our group's poem. Humility, gifted at birth. I am here, but so are you. Return to me. Together we are strong. I would rather impress myself than put on a show. Authenticity over insecurity. It grew each year, increased in strength. How do I feel? I do not know. I was humble before I was wise, but when I am wise, I am humble. I project, but I reflect. Grounded with humility, it's trickery, or at least tricky. If you feel the need to speak, security lies when you see the prize in smaller things. Brain detached, heart attached. What the mind denies is laid bare by one's eyes. Each time I look away, then I find you gone. How to find that balance between pride and ego? The hill was steep, falling a non-negotiable must. When new earth came, we thought all lost. The old earth became the cost. Is humility still a gift, or has it sunk too low? All right, so Shrikant, we did this last week, and it was, well, not last week, the week before. And I want to try it again. And I did warn the group here that we were going to try this. what I'd like to do is combine the two poems into one giant poem. So if you would, for me, I do need a copy. Yep, fantastic, got it. I'm going to grab it here, save it. What are we in? 36? This is week 36, right? Okay. Sorry. All right, I'm saving that one. So now I'm going to open it and I'm going to put them both on the same. Oh, it says I can't open this file. It must be an Apple thing. That's weird. But it says a doc. Why? I don't understand why your computer doesn't love me.
You could try and copy and paste in the chat.
Well, no, he gave me well, he's done this before and it's worked. I'm not sure. Give me just a second. I saved it. Let me see. Oh no, Joe, you gave it to me as a PDF.
No, it should have come through as a doc.
No,
It's definitely not a PDF. I didn't convert it.
Can you try sending it again for me? I'm sorry. Apologies, guys.
Hang on, my computer says low bandwidth.
I had to double click the docx and wait, but it finally opened for me, Maritza.
It's not for me. It's giving me the option. Let me try to see if I could force it to open it in Word.
It is a Word doc.
Right, but my computer is not recognizing it. Hold on, I'm gonna try to force it. Yes, sweet. Okay, I got it. Sorry, apologies. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put them together. And I'm going to give them numbers. Oops, let me okay, so I'm going to give them some numbers so you guys can help me figure out how to structure them. This part of the process, we're still working out the kinks of. Okay, so we have, because we went rogue, we have 4 stanzas here. I mean, we have 9 sections. I'm going to share the screen again. And what I'm going to invite you guys to do is let's restructure them how we think they might want to go. So these are the, I need to do, so these are the 4, there's one missing. I'm just gonna hang out there. So this is one poem here, and this is another one. What we want to do is mesh them together so that we get one cohesive poem. So they're up here, and just go right ahead and unmute. We're gonna do a little bit crazy here. Unmute which one of these, which number do we think should be the opening to our merged poem?
I'm thinking 6 can go above 1.
I second that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was.
All right. Sweet. And then, yes, and that's what we'll do. As you guys think anything should get moved around, we're going to move them around.
And maybe 8 goes after 2.
In that case, we should put 7 soon, because there's a relationship between those two stanzas in our poem.
Yeah.
So either 8 before 2 and then 7 3, or somehow. Are we allowed to
Seven, actually,
continue?
7 can almost go after.
After 1?
1. After
So
1.
7 1
Yeah.
7 2 8 3. Well, I don't know. We can try it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then 4 before 9.
Yes.
All right. There's a first pass, isn't it?
We have two here. Which one do we want this one to be the last line? I kind of like that. Oh, although
It
the
doesn't
last,
fit, but it's a good
about-
last line.
say again.
It doesn't fit, but it's a good last line.
Well, we could make it fit.
Oh, we still have to fix the line. The first
These
line
two.
for the first line for 9 should be Caesar lowers himself to raise Rome.
Oh, yeah.
To raise Rome.
Yeah.
Lowers
To raise
himself
Rome.
to raise Rome. That was we fixed as the clock was running out.
Yeah, the clock ran out when we were fixing that.
Yeah, I don't see that working as the last.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like a good closing. It seems like a good.
I mean, actually, that could go after 1 as well.
Actually, I would be okay with that there.
I think it goes after 5.
After 5.
Yeah. Is humility still a gift, or has it sunk too low? Caesar lowers himself to raise
Ah,
Rome.
good. Very good.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
Okay.
She's good.
Yeah, she is. Very, very good.
What if we make 3 and 4 the ending ones? So if Brutus is piercing my ego, it might cause me to reflect and project. What do you think about
I love this process. It's such a kick.
it? Is right. I know. We had so much fun last time. I was like, all right, we're doing this again. Okay, what do you guys think about this? These
And there is trickery too. I mean,
right.
he is being assassinated.
Yeah. Let's
If you feel
let's do a read through.
security lies.
It looks like we've rearranged. Let's see. Any of my newcomers, does anyone new feel emboldened and feel like reading this for us? I invite you. I'm not going to call anybody's name, I promise. But if you would like to, by all means, wave at me or.
I just want to thank you, Shrikant and Maritza, for letting me come in so late.
Of course. You're most welcome. You get to see the fun part.
Maritza,
Yes, I get to enjoy the finished product. Thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry, Joel, go ahead.
Yeah, could you just make the type larger so whoever reads is going to have an easier time?
I can. Oops, sorry, just ignore that. I'm just trying not to forget who's in my group because, my mental note chips are faulty.
There we go.
They
Great.
come off. If I can do it. Oh, no. If I make it too much bigger, they come off the screen. Oh, wait. No, I can just delete all this. Aha. Okay, so. Yeah, that works. Can you see? Is that okay? Or maybe.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good. All right. Were you thinking you might want to read the poem once over for us, Joel?
I wasn't, but
No worries. No pressure. I just checking. All right. I tell you what, I'll read it once through and then I will invite somebody else to please volunteer to read it after me. And when I read it, let me know if you think something else needs to be moved. I'm obviously not going to read the numbers. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to learn that when we're reading the poem, nothing else is said except for the poem. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read our big, huge poem now. I can't bear being told I'm wrong. I am humble. I am naked. I surrender in this skin. I release all pretensions. my soul expands. Humility, gifted at birth. I am here, but so are you. Return to me. Together we are strong. I would rather impress myself than put on a show. Humble is the bear seeking sweetness, honeyed humble fingers stitching threads, stretching nets. Humility weaves without rhyme or reason. If you think you're humble, you're not. Authenticity over insecurity. It grew each year, increased in strength. How do I feel? I do not know. I was humble before I was wise, but when I am wise, I am humble. In my bared bashfulness, I surrender my humility. Catch it in a pride trap. Humility tempers the ego, the opposite of pride. My pride bends against the winds of fate, bends like the dandelions, scatters to the earth. The hill was steep, falling a non-negotiable must. When new earth came, we thought all lost. The old earth became the cost. Is humility still a gift, or has it sunk too low? Caesar lowers himself to raise Rome. Bee-sting teardrops puncture my skin. Pain stings my pride. Brutus, you have pierced my ego. I project, but I reflect. Grounded with humility, it's trickery, or at least tricky, if you feel the need to speak. Security lies when you see the prize in smaller things. Brain detached, heart attached. What the mind denies is laid bare by one's own eyes. Each time I look away, then I find you gone. How to find that balance between pride and ego?
Wow, this works amazingly well. This is as if it was one poem to start.
I know. Isn't that crazy, Shrikant? When we did it last time, none of us was sure it was going to work. And we're like, wow.
And also it adds so much richness, because the richness of both the poems, the interaction is just amazing.
It is. You guys are awesome. I would like to invite one more person to read it, if anyone would like to. Sometimes hearing it twice, there's something, the reader brings something to it. So it's always fascinating. And there's a little bit of selfishness. It's nice to hear someone else other than myself read it. But if not,
I'll read it if you want. I mean, I'm just volunteering. If you want me to, I will.
go for it. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
I really enjoy reading, so I appreciate it. I can't bear being told I'm wrong. I am humble. I am naked. I surrender in this skin. I release all pretensions. My soul expands. Humility, gifted at birth. I am here, but so are you. Return to me. Together we are strong. I would rather impress myself than put on a show. Humble is the bear seeking sweetness, honeyed humble fingers stitching threads, stretching nets. Humility weaves without rhyme or reason. If you think you're humble, you're not. Authenticity over insecurity. It grew each year, increased in strength. How do I feel? I do not know. I was humble before I was wise. But when I am wise, I am humble. In my bared bashfulness, I surrender my humility. Catch it in a pride trap. Humility tempers the ego, the opposite of pride. My pride bends against the winds of fate, bends like the dandelions, scatters to the earth. The hill was steep, falling a non-negotiable must. When new earth came, we thought all lost. The old earth became the cost. Is humility still a gift, or has it sunk too low? Caesar lowers himself to raise Rome. Bee sting teardrops puncture my skin. Pain stings my pride. Brutus, you have pierced my ego. I project, but I reflect, grounded with humility. It's trickery, or at least tricky. If you feel the need to speak, security lies when you see the prize in smaller things. Brain detached, heart attached. What the mind denies is laid here by one's own eyes. Each time I look away, then I find you gone. How to find that balance between pride and ego.
Awesome. Thank you.
I read it as if it had a lot more line breaks, but that just comes, I'm sorry, maybe that's.
So did I. No, so I feel like so did I. It's funny hearing you read it points out to me this parts where I was adding so much more like inflection or a bigger pause. I was like, oh, I guess that pause wasn't as necessary as my mind told me it was. So it's great. That's awesome. All right, so I would like to open it up to any and all of you. Please, yes, absolutely. Shrikant, I'm going to, yes, Shrikant, you stole the words from my mouth, so please go right ahead.
All right, wonderful. So shall we stop sharing the screen?
Yes, definitely.
So folks, I would love to hear your thoughts on humility. It's a very deep topic, and we've been studying it in Gospel of John, and we are about to study it in Gita. You've had this experience of writing a poem together, hearing other people's thoughts on humility. So if you could share what your thoughts are on humility, really appreciate that. So please go ahead and type exclamation mark if you'd like to share.
While folks are gathering their thoughts, Shrikant, I'm going to cheat and jump in first.
Okay.
You know, for me, I'm always amazed at, again, what comes bubbling up from people's subconscious in the poem. I really I appreciate the struggle, you know, that both groups came up with this, you know, both external and internal struggle with humility. The idea of it being kind of like a dark passenger that one walks with. And I find that to be really quite interesting. And I can chat some more later. There's a few folks lined up.
Next up is Mushki.
Hello. Yes, I enjoyed it so much. Something I noticed was that as I was, giving the lines in, I kept saying, everyone's lines are better than mine. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at poetry. And then I remembered that this is about humility. So, it's not about me, them versus them, who's the best in poetry here. It's about, creating something together and seeing the unity. So it was almost like my inner critical voice, like I learned humility from this poem, and it was just, I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, that's what went on in my, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mushki. Maritza, is it okay if I call on people?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I was assuming you would. Apologies. Absolutely.
Thank you. Next up is Joe, followed by Steve. Joe.
I mean, humility has to be, it's fundamental to, you have to be authentic if you're going to be humble. Otherwise that gets sent out, sensed out by people right away. And then it's not humility. It's kind of this, it's a false humility that exists, and that can be problematic. But when it's true humility, you're kind of almost demonstrating a service for others, and you're setting an example for others that you're not too proud to do something. And I think that has a way of, in a very real way, working out in just our daily lives. just the willingness to help out the janitors or something at work. I think that that's like really, and I've noticed a lot of people at my work do that. And that's just, it's an acknowledgement towards what somebody else is doing, towards something we may think we wouldn't do normally. So I think that it's incredibly important in order for us to connect. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Aristotle has humility and pride as two different things, as two extremes, and that you're supposed to be striking, looking for this golden mean, this middle, because too much humility is almost paralyzing in its own right. Like you're too humble to do anything. But on the other end of that extreme is pride. So you still want some degree of pride, but not too much. And I think that that's an interesting way of looking at it as well. It's the Aristotelian golden mean.
It's wonderful. So many fascinating points, Joe. Thank you. And once everybody has said it, I'll try to summarize it and then we can discuss them further. Next up is going to be Steve, followed by Paul. Steve.
I felt such a generosity of spirit in our group. It was just so, wonderful. And it contradicted that statement that too many chefs spoil the stew. This is like everyone put in their own ingredients and just made it magnificent. So I enjoyed the process.
Yes, I think melting pot of many different flavors together works very well. Beautiful. Thank you. Next up is Paul, followed by Joe. Paul.
Yeah, to Steve's point, like every week we contradict the too many chefs. Every week we contradict that little mantra that too many cooks spoil. It's very fascinating to me. And I think I didn't really think about this, but of course tonight Shrikant is making us consider the idea that what is humility, but we can do it because we're trying to practice humility. And I think we all seem to, because we're trying to devote the effort to what the group think is doing and put aside our own, I'm going to do something really cool here. It takes an effort, I think, it takes an effort. But I wanted to say that poem, you weren't here, Shrikant, but I read a poem and I had read it to my significant other earlier tonight because I was debating whether to, and it wasn't really done. And she has a way of talking about it. And now I've adopted her way of talking because a lot of times poetry comes in sort of this flow and you don't really feel like you're writing it. So I now talk to her that way. I go, well, the last part of that poem about the stone, I wrote that. Which implies that the rest just came. So the humility to me is in the art of poetry is in giving yourself to that. And it's beautiful. And then you have to interfere with your own mind and tweak and stuff. But I just wanted to voice those thoughts. And it's a beautiful group to do this in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. It was wonderful. Next up is Joe, Maritza, and JP. Joe.
Yeah, so just briefly, the one thing is that I've noticed in our groups, whenever we're editing a poem, nobody's so attached to a line that they're not willing to take out the line. So so there's a degree of humility that plays into the idea of harmony, within getting something done for a greater good. I have another example of humility that I thought would be worth mentioning in a real practical sense. Maybe it's not poetic, but it'll be brief. There was a company that was started. The executives used to park furthest away from the entrance, and the company was thriving and growing and everything. And as it got bigger and bigger, the the executives started parking closer and having their reserve spots, and they were actually they had the prime spots and they made it reserve parking, and the company just started to slowly go down and down and down. And because there was this lack of humility, this lack of kind of cohesiveness towards what they were doing. They were serving the people that they were working for, and then they looked at them as more as just employees. And anyway, it was a very interesting case study that it was that happened here in New Jersey, actually. So anyway.
Thank you, Joe. Next up is Maritza, followed by JP. Maritza.
Now I'm becoming quite convinced, Shrikant, that the exercise of writing, I'm not even going to say poetry, but writing either for oneself or with others, it requires a certain amount of humbleness, because, the ego or the hubris can get in the way of writing if one is not careful. And so, the writing of poetry, especially when you're mixing it with others, it's so many layers that one doesn't even realize that what you're doing is you're kind of stripping yourself of so many of the human trappings. Like, we wear pride and, all these harder coatings, we wear them as armor in our day-to-day. But if we all showed up in this room today, like trying to hold tight to things that are ours, we would never be able to produce the magic that we have produced here successfully for 36 weeks. So to me, I've learned that humility is not getting to a point where it never occurs to you that, let me try it again. Humility is not never having the desire to just keep talking without consideration of anyone else. But humility is having that desire, but wanting more to interact with others and the world. And because of that, you pause and give the space to someone else. And I think that requires an awareness that we cultivate, and it's like a muscle that we stretch. And so one has to be less cognizant of being humble the more often one exercises that with an intentional awareness. Thank you.
Wonderful. That was great. Thank you. Thank you, Maritza. Next up is JP, followed by Steve. JP.
I heard Joe referring to Aristotle. So I would like to say that humility helps me at two opposing points in my life. Humility helps me when I'm at my worst, but humility helps me when I'm at my best.
Wonderful. Great as always. Thank you. Next up is Steve.
Yes, I just wanted to thank the group for creating the space where I feel that I'm being seen and heard. It's kind of a rare event where you have this experience. So again, I want to thank everyone for creating that space for me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Next up is Anton.
And well, I guess I could even start out by saying this, because who knows how many times I say, let me choose what I can say. There's multiple things I can say, because even though I see humor in this, like there's times where I'll purposely be limited, or at least more limited in what I say, tying in with some of what I've said before, because I want to be conscious of other people, even though my mind is like, there's so much more I could say. So it is like a balancing act, choosing whether it's actually important to say or not, things that I'm thinking of. But a couple of things that moved me that a couple of people have said when Joe was mentioning, for example, I think he was using an example of appreciating the janitor where you work is what he was saying. And it brings back a memory to me of when I was taking college classes. It might be one of my favorite memories, honestly, because I was walking in the hallway past the janitor, and somebody else who was nearby me said that, I really appreciate, it said to the janitor, I really appreciate what you're doing around here. You're doing a hell of a job. So I just want to let you know that. And as simple as that is, I think that might be one of my favorite memories, because I just loved seeing somebody show that appreciation for the janitor that I haven't seen someone show appreciation like that before. So that moved me. And also what JP said about humility helps me when I'm at my worst and also when I'm at my best. I definitely relate to that. And I've noticed, even though I can use things that I am proud of in an egoic and boil over to an egoic way, and there's a lot of times I see ego in my head, the irony is I feel better when I'm like, well, think about the fact that, this is something that I wished for, or think about the fact that this is what I've purposely wanted in my life, whatever the thing is if it's easy for me to appreciate, because there's things like for example, the way that I feel about my writing nowadays, like I one way that I can have more humility is when I remind myself that there was a time period when it was much harder to have inspiration. It was much harder for me to feel like it was worth writing. So it's completely different now, and that always makes it easier to write, to continue wanting to. So those are some thoughts that I have to share.
Wonderful, thank you. Next up is going to be Paul. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, just a brief follow on all these thoughts about, I just think it's worth mentioning how hard it is, because I'm in this like meditation group and we talk about this. So like even when I said, like, oh, like these things just come. So then the ego wants to grab everything. So now I'm so proud that I'm egoless. It's just like constant traps. The ego just wants to like say, this is mine. So humility is hard. That's my point. At least maybe it isn't hard for everybody, but I think it'll trap you into thinking you're being humble, but then you're so proud of your humility. Like the poem said, actually. I don't know who waved that line in, but somebody used that exact line in our poem.
Wonderful. So firstly, I'm just blown away by the range of observations here. So I'm going to talk about the highlights that I saw. Okay, there's no way to summarize everything, the great things that were said, but I'm just going to highlight some things, and then I'm going to invite comments on anything that stands out to you. So first point was about external and internal humility. It's like, there is humility of how you treat yourself when you're by yourself, and the humility is a very large issue there. And there is humility between people. Second is a connection. I mean, there was a substrate of it throughout, connection between humility and honesty. I think there is a lot there between humility and honesty. Authenticity. That's another way of saying, you want to be authentic, not just proud. You want to be authentic. Service as being a concept that underlies it. The value of acknowledging and appreciating other people and what they do, regardless of what it is. And actually, it applies in all directions. It doesn't just apply to janitors. It also applies to your boss. You can take your boss for granted, and people who are actually, helping you in a very big way, and the janitor. So everybody, and your friends. So that appreciation is very powerful. The question of balance and, between pride and humility, I don't know whether I have not yet, I can't quite figure out whether that's the right way of thinking about humility. There is something about that you have to act, so you have to have enough confidence in acting. But at the same time, you need to be taking feedback. So it's a question of input and output. You need to have the confidence in order to act, but you have to be aware of the feedback pointing to something other than the rightness of your action. So if you get the feedback from the world saying that you're doing something wrong, you have to be able to listen to it. So it's kind of like both things together in some way. I can't quite put it properly. The another point that was brought up, which is really beautiful, is generosity. Generosity of people in general, that really shows humility, because humility is not just your take on yourself, but through your actions, humble actions, you end up being generous. So I think that is another angle on it. It's crucial for cooperation. You can't work in a group like this without humility. There's another very beautiful point about giving yourself to poetry. It's like humility is about accepting or kind of giving yourself to nature, giving yourself to the experience, and hearing what it is saying to you in an open-hearted way. The question of non-attachment, of not being attached, whether to your ego or to anything that you have made, saying, no, this is it. The moment you hold on to something like that, it begins to die and you begin to die with it. The issue of harmony, the point that writing or any kind of production, actually, any kind of great work requires humility, because you yourself are going to go through multiple versions of it and you're going to keep on improving it, but you can't grow, you can't improve unless you say, oh, I screwed up here, or this can be better. If you don't have that, how is that next version going to be better? Another thing that was there throughout is the importance of listening. Humility is about listening to what the world is telling you, not just speaking, not just putting forth whatever you already have, but being open to criticism, feedback. It's a way of interacting with the world. Otherwise, you're trying to remain within yourself and you're saying no to everything that the world is giving you. It's about awareness and more self-awareness. It is a way of saying, okay, where am I? What is my nature? What do I have it or do I not have it? So it is being reflective about yourself. It is needed at your worst so that you can improve, because the world is giving you feedback, and it is needed at your best, because that's how you are going to get better than your current best. It is about being seen and being heard. When somebody is approaching you in an open way, with humility, they are actually listening to you. There's another theme that was brought up, and that is being grateful for what you have. So instead of saying, oh, I have this, it's acknowledgement of everything that life gives you on a platter. And it is hard And it is hard because it's a dance between you doing something, between speaking and listening. So these are the points that I saw in what was said here, and which was just incredible. So would love to hear any comments that you have on this. I will start with Ginny, followed by Joe. Ginny.
I just want to say what Paul said earlier. I just love what he said. I'm so proud of my humility. And he's been smiling the entire time he's been in this meeting that I've since saw him. So he must be pretty happy being, having humility makes him a very happy man, it seems. So I just like what he said very much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ginny. Next up is Joe.
You know, one example that I think is worth mentioning, because and we talked about it in the Gospel of John, is Peter's reaction to Christ washing his feet, where he says, "No, Lord, you will never wash my feet," and he was adamant about it. And I think that that's actually very interesting, because everybody would think, oh, wow, he's being humble, that he would never, allow the Lord to wash his feet. When in essence, it's actually disguised, it's pride. So you have God that's offering and saying, I know what to do. I'm setting the example for you as a way to interact with other people, and you're telling me what to do. So this idea that it's humility disguised as pride, it's very subtle, but it happens quite often. And I think it happens more often than we think, because we think we're right, that we take an action that we think is maybe humble, but in essence, if it's because we think it's right, there's a chance that it could be our pride rather than our humility.
Now, that's a great point. This is to Paul's point. We have tremendous capability of self-deception. And we actually end up, if we don't watch out, there is all kinds of biases that we have that at the surface seems like this, but it's actually something exactly opposite. So, that's a great point. Thank you. Anybody else has any comments? Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So I'm very grateful for all these observations. They were just fantastic, and it's really great. At 52 Living Ideas, because this happens in meetup after meetup. Like the range of observations that people come up with just blows me away, because everybody comes at the same topic from so many different angles. It adds so much texture to it that it's just, I don't see any other way of doing this. So thank you, folks. Maritza, over to you.
Well, as always, this was delightful. You guys are my favorite part of my weeks. I really do enjoy this. I'm going to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek for next week, seeing as it is Halloween, right? Yes. So for those of you who are going to join us for the spooky season, I don't have children and I don't go out, so I will be here with you, whichever one of you who want to join us. You can bring your chocolate bars, no judgments. Let's be cheeky and let's do Edgar Allan Poe, because it's Halloween, naturally. So I'm going to make him the featured poet. I say that, but I actually really do appreciate his poems. For some strange reason, I was obsessed with this poem, Annabel Lee, when I was a child, and I memorized it and I used to go around reading it. I don't know. I was just proud of myself for I was a morbid child. But yes, so that's what we're going to do for next week's featured poet. We'll do Edgar Allan Poe. And for the theme, Shrikant, do you have a suggestion for the theme?
I'll tell you about the meetups that are taking place.
Perfect.
Let's pause 1 second on that. I want to tell you about a very interesting meetup taking place this Wednesday.
Do it.
By Phil.
Oh.
It's going to be on a work called Mimesis, the representation of reality in Western literature. So what it is it's actually a very influential work by Eric Orbach. And it's going to look at, how Homeric epics handle questions of reality versus Old Testament, and across literature, not just these works, but across literature, how is it done? So it seems like a very profound topic. I have not myself looked at it yet, but Phil's choices on this topic, on his language topics have been just stunning, Owen Barfield being one. And I'm hoping that this would be a second one. In terms of the theme, I was thinking Halloween and fear would be a good fear.
That's what I was thinking. And I was like, did I want to be that cheeky? That's why I suggested to you, because I was like, Shrikant will take me out of 2nd grade. But apparently not. We're playing in the sandbox together.
No, but seriously, fear is very serious topic. It is
actually really is.
As humility, because
you can be deep and have fun at the same time.
So let's connect it up with humility, right? Humility is lack of fear, because when you're afraid, you are actually pretending to hold on to your own self-view, regardless of what is happening. So it seems like confidence, but it is actually fear. You're actually afraid of what reality is telling you. You're afraid to correct. So fear is a very deep emotion. So I think it will be a,
awesome.
Appropriate thing to look at.
I think I like it. It's great. Edgar Allan Poe, and the theme is fear. Delightful. I'm excited. Who's coming dressed like a witch? It was nice having you guys, the new folks here, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you at future Mondays. Have a lovely evening, guys. Thank you for sharing your Monday with me. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.
Warlock.